Pradeep Kumar Kheruka, Chairman of Borosil Renewables, joins in. Hi Pradeep, good morning. Very, very happy New Year. May 2025 be a successful year for you and the company. Well, we were just getting a little bit of a, what should I say, Borosil Renewable in a nutshell for our viewers, but now that we have you as well, it'd be good to start by asking you, in terms of timelines for the 500 TPD capacity expansion project, would you like to share timelines with me? When do we expect the additional capacity to come on stream? And more importantly, how are we funding this? Or rather, how are you funding this?
So thank you very much for having me. To answer your question, we expect that production should be seen in the third quarter of next year from the new expanded capacity. And so far as funding is concerned, Borosil has tied up with some investors in a preferential allotment. So that will help us fund this project, plus internal accruals as well, which was not possible earlier. And now, because of the announcement of provisional anti-dumping duty, we expect that the cash flows will change and shall permit this growth.
Got it. Mr. Kheruka, best wishes for a successful 2025 to you. This is Neeraj here. Good morning.
Good morning.
There are a few developments that have happened which, of course, go your way. Now, how quickly do you reckon your capacity expansions come on stream? I just wanted a slight bit of more detail on that, part one, because I think that will have implications on how analysts or how investors view your numbers and then do the DCF to arrive at a valuation. So I'm just trying to understand, when do the capacities come on stream? When do they reach the desired capacity utilization levels, if you will, assuming that everything else, including duties, etc., remains the same. Of course, if that would change, then things could change, I understand.
Yes, so you see, we were amidst the capacity expansion. So, for instance, we already have the electrical installations and the batch house in place for the new capacity. So, we principally have to get the hot end and the cold end, installed to get it running. I would expect that sometime in the October-December quarter of next year, we should be seeing glass coming out of this. And we in fact have infrastructure for another 500 tons in place, but we want to tread a little cautiously. And I would say that we see a good run to this because there's a very large demand for solar energy in the country, and there's a very large requirement of solar panels. And so therefore we expect that that there should be absolutely no problem in selling the capacity as soon as we have it. And in fact, I would say that this would be a very good future. I can see a very good future for the solar industry.
Indeed, sir. So I don't know whether you answered this, but if I'd like you to just simplify it once again for me in terms of how would you fund your 665 crores of capex? How much of this will be equity? How much of this will be debt? And what part of it will be internal accruals?
So about 700 crores is coming into the company soon by means of a preferential allotment. We have already sent out a notice for shareholders' approval. The meeting is going to be held in the first half of January. We need permission from the shareholders. Once that is in place, then we would go ahead and we would request the investors to put in their money. The promoters are going to put in 100 crores. 600 crores is coming in from preferential allotment. So that's an input of about 700 crores. We'll use a part of that to repay the debt that we have currently, and the rest of it will go towards capacity expansion.
Okay. Sorry, I know you were in the midst of that preferential, or maybe it's slated the first week of January, Mr. Kheruka. Can you just what?
That is the we need shareholders' approval before we proceed with this, and so there's an EGM which has been announced, and the EGM is going to be held very soon in the first half of January.
First half of January, and,
yeah. So once the EGM rules in our favor, once the EGM decides to permit this expansion, then we go ahead and we are able to pump in the money from the investors, and then we start rolling in terms of the expansion.
And just wondering, what does this therefore, I'm sure it's going to be a successful fundraise. What does it take your debt equity to, Mr. Kheruka?
I'm sorry, I don't have the answer.
But it's
offhand.
comfortable, you reckon?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We are very conservative. We part of the reason that we went in for this fundraise was also to repay some of the debt that we have. So we prefer to be debt light rather than debt heavy.
Noted.
And I guess your investors would be as pleased about that. Let's talk about some regulatory tailwinds which would have impacted you, I would imagine. Could you share with me how significant is the provisional anti-dumping duty of $677 per MT on solar glass imports that are coming in from China and Vietnam for your profitability specifically? And I think that'd be an important key for the sector as well for us.
We have always sought to be responsible in terms of the selling price of glass. And I would say that first of all, may I just make a little correction? This is not seen by the Ministry of Finance as a duty at all. They see this as a minimum import price which has been imposed. And when the minimum import price has been imposed, then any amount which is below the import price would be duty levied by the customs on that particular shipment. As and when prices rise, then the duty amount becomes smaller. In the case we had a fixed customs duty, then that would keep on being added to the cost of the imported glass, regardless of whether the price went up or not. So, for example, right now we have a situation where we have customs duty. I'm sorry, we have an issue with freight. So, suppose if the freight goes up, then the landed price rises. When the landed price rises, then in that case we find that we find that the amount of duty payable will reduce. So whatever happens, this is a minimum import price now, so it's not seen as a duty. And I'm sorry, what was the next question?
So yeah, I wanted to understand
Yeah.
what the impact of this will be, say, on your margins, on your market share, because this would impact profitability, I would imagine, right?
This is going to restore profitability to the company to a healthy level, and this would certainly restore margins to us. And yeah, we have so far used all the funds that we have received to reinvest into production, and I presume this is and that is our plan going forward as well. So yes, it's a positive move for us.
So possible to quantify? Give me a range maybe of what it could do for your margins. How much upside could we expect?
I wouldn't
And it
like
doesn't
to
have
go-
to be specific. It could be a wide range as well. We'd make peace with that too.
We should see a definite improvement, is the best I can say to you.
Okay. Mr. Kheruka, as a business with all that's happened thus far, plus the capacity expansion that you're doing, so on and so forth, what does this lead to in terms of actual numbers? And the reason I ask, I know it's difficult to say because in your business I saw, right, Q2 numbers just looked so dramatically different and better relative to maybe the previous ones, and a lot of it probably has to do with duties or otherwise too, and fair degree of volatility too. But are there internal targets or formal guidances that you've given for FY 25-26? Any color that you can give?
I can just say that we are a dynamic organization in the sense that we are always exploring alternatives. Now we got into solar glass in 2008, and we are on 2024. So that's a long time. That's 16 years that we've been in this business, and we are definitely going to be getting together to try and see what is it that we should come up with going forward. It could be, we've already announced the 500 tons, and there might be more after that. But we might also consider branching off into something else, which it's really premature to say what.
Okay, but even if you do that, it may probably have an impact on numbers only post FY 26, right? So I'm just trying to understand that what does being dynamic and a company that is likely to do well mean in terms of maybe growth rates, if not actual numbers for FY25 and 26?
If the demand is growing very rapidly, and so therefore the only thing that we have to consider is the pace of our expansion, strictly speaking. And so as of now, we're looking at 500 tons. Now I cannot rule out the possibility that a year from now, before the capacity has come on stream, we might decide to go in for something more. It's very difficult to say. We are just this is just purely conjecture. This is not a fact. It's just conjecture. We could branch off into something else. Very difficult to say. The solar field is very wide, very diverse, and so anything is possible.
Right. So just, I know we've talked about the competitive edge and the fact that, you are a leader of in many ways in the sector. While there'll be a positive impact in terms of the anti-dumping, are there any concerns at this stage about an increase in raw material costs or pricing on that front that potentially may offset the gain that you may stand to gain on back of anti-dumping?
You see, the fact is the industry saw the import duty coming in on the 1st of October. And the industry has imported huge stocks, which will last them for a reasonable amount of time at the old prices. So I do not see any immediate change in that. Secondly, so far as the company is concerned, so far as we are concerned, we have not brought our domestic selling prices on par with the prices that would need to be paid by an importer after the imposition of the minimum import price. So we are going slow on increasing prices in consonance with our being a little conservative. So we do not see that there should be any significant problem at all. You see, the fact is that in the solar industry, we must all understand something, that the Chinese have had a very distinct policy of undercutting manufacturing costs across the globe. And they basically do not want to see renewable energy being produced from equipment that has been made in countries other than in China. And if we were to succumb to this, then we would be losing our energy security. And I think the government is very clear on this subject. The government has made up its mind, is going to promote a domestic solar ecosystem. The second thing I want to say is that today the price of power is not less than 4 rupees 50 paisa per kilowatt hour for anybody. So all the discoms will purchase their power at about 450. And when there is a shortage and they buy it from the grid, from open access people and so on, they end up paying a lot more, sometimes up to 12 rupees per unit. And solar power is there at about 2 rupees 75 to 3 rupees a unit, which is so much cheaper. So where is the question of any competition for the grid? I mean, the only thing that solar power does is supply the power cheaper.
Yeah. No, Mr. Kheruka, but I don't know if that comes up at the conversations at other platforms. We're not even saying that. I don't think that's really the call per se. But just one quick follow-up, Mr. Kheruka, before we thank you. How long before the solar ecosystem gets developed very well in India? Because I'll tell you why. I mean, while this is welcome news for manufacturers such as you, your end users are, of course, saying that the cost has gone up so much, right, because of these duties. It becomes difficult to be competitive as well in select cases. So how long before this whole ecosystem becomes developed? I heard you say that the government has made it clear they want to develop the domestic ecosystem. How long does that take?
You see, the thing is that if the anti-dumping duty which was in place between 2017 2022 had not been allowed to lapse, then we would not be having this conversation today. There's about 50 gigawatts of capacity which is already there in place, which is there on the cards in the sidelines waiting to come up. And I've seen that the same thing has already happened in terms of just one moment, please.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yes, please, sir, please complete your point, sir.
Yeah. So I was just saying that the anti-dumping duty is only levelizing the cost of production. I would like to point out the price of glass has crashed by 38% during the current year, and so it is very difficult for anybody to try to be competitive with that, because the cost of inputs has not fallen at all. I would therefore say that I see a very good prognosis going forward. The industry will develop. These are complaints people make when module manufacturers were given a 40% import duty. The prices had risen then also, and we had similar stories. But the fact of the matter is that the demand for domestic modules has been doubling and redoubling. The same story with cells. Domestic cells are doubling, redoubling, quadrupling, just going up leaps and bounds. The same thing will happen with glass. There's absolutely no constraint whatsoever in terms of the solar plan or program for the nation. I see that very strong, vibrant, and nothing can come in its way.
Well, good luck, sir. Hopefully 2025 is better than what we've left behind us for you and the company. We'll hopefully see you soon, and good luck with business.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Right, that was Borosil Renewables talking about the outlook, their capex plans, the fact that they are conservative, so maintain a very healthy debt to equity ratio, and also that they would look to diversifying their offering, and the anti-dumping the duty, like I called it, but of course got corrected, is a positive for the sector. This would improve or help the company return back its see a revival of profitability and its margins as well. He's also talked about how he would diversify his portfolio in order to reduce sector or product dependence.